Hi colleagues, as many of you know, I spent last semester on sabbatical, which was pretty awesome, let me tell you. Recommend it to everyone. Anyways, the focus of my sabbatical research was the flipped classroom model. It's something I became interested in a while ago and been toying with, but this year I really got to look into it in depth. If you want to read up on my findings, please check out my blog that I have set up, which is at www.flippederglishclassroom.com. Pretty much catalogs what I checked out and the difficulties and some tips. However, I'm going to assume that you're here today because you are familiar with the concept of flipping and you want some basic tips on how to do it. So, this video will show you what to flip and how, using nothing but your MacBook Pro, something we all have. So, it's quick, it's easy, we'll jump right in, let's go for it. The first question is, what do I flip? Well, essentially, don't flip everything. Really, flipping is meant for replacing the times when you are up here in front of the classroom delivering your lecture, which obviously isn't every day unless you're really boring. So, putting the lecture on the video allows students to do this at home, freeing up your time to do lots of cool stuff, one-on-one stuff in class. Now, the next thing to consider is, what kind of format do you want to be flipping? Do you want to be up in front of the class and being taped by a video? Typically I like that because I like to see myself on camera. Or if you're the other type that really does not like to be in front of the camera, you'll probably want to do something called screencasting. So your formats are typically being taped or screencasting. We'll discuss screencasting first.
Okay, so to do a screen recording using QuickTime, it's pretty easy. Just make sure you have what you need ready to go, whether it's a presentation, a Prezi, or whatnot. Also make sure that there's nothing that might distract your students, like I have up here, a bunch of open tabs. So make sure that what you want your students to see is up there, and that there's nothing up there that you really don't want them to see, of course. So have that ready to go, and what you need to do is look for this QuickTime icon right there and open that up. Okay, then up at the menu, click on File, New Screen Recording. And that'll bring up this little dialog box ready to go. Make sure that it can hear you. If you definitely use the built-in microphone, make sure that option is selected. And you can tell that your computer can hear you by these little sound bars up top. So, let's give this a go. Actually, make sure the volume is right here. Now, since I'm actually recording on an iPhone, the computer, for my specific purposes, I'm going to turn the microphone off. But here we go. So when you're ready to get going, you have your script or whatever you want to read, and you know what to say, or you have your presentation. Click that little record button. It'll give you a little dialogue saying, oh, don't forget that it's up there to stop it. There's a little stop button up here in the bar. I don't know if you can see it. And then you're ready to go. So you bring up your presentation. And you start going through the motions. And click through your slides, give your little dialogue, yada yada yada, do what you do. And once you're done with all of that, let's just pretend I'm done. Go back up to the top of the menu bar where you'll see a little stop sign in a circle. Click stop, and boom, it'll automatically open the video that you just created, which you can give a little look-see. See, it's playing through all the steps that I just did. Cool. So once you're satisfied with that, you can click close, and it's going to ask you to export the video. So name it whatever makes sense to you. Make sure you saved it in the correct spot, and then boom, it's going to do what it does, and it's going to save it, and you are ready to go. So just checking to make sure that the video is there. I'll go to my documents, and boom, there's my instructional video that we just made. So once we do that, we can do a number of things. We can upload it to YouTube, which is what I tend to do, but that's going to be probably a different video. For our purposes, we have finished with this little section.
Okay, so screencasting is pretty cool and everything, but it does take a lot of time to develop your PowerPoints, get your materials all gathered together and ready to go, and then do the recording over it. Let's talk about the other option, which is live taping. This is actually probably the easiest and quickest way to flip, but it's more like investing this year for using the material next year. Essentially, you know how you lecture the same thing in 5 periods with slight variations. What you're going to do is set up your MacBook somewhere facing you on the front, a desk on the front row, set it to record using QuickTime, and basically I would choose your last period of the day when you've really rehearsed your lecture and tape that lecture. That way, by the end of the year, you'll have all these lectures taped, ready to go for you to use next year. Sounds pretty easy. Let's walk you through the details.
So proper placement is pretty key if you're going to be using the MacBook. You just need to make sure that obviously it's the right spot to record you in front of the classroom. As you can see, I just have it on a podium here, facing the whiteboard where I'll be writing any kind of grammar lesson or whatnot. And it's pretty much right in front and center of the class, so just make sure that you're ready to go. I mean, you could also place it on a student desk or anywhere that's handy and level. Obviously, try this out before you actually start doing it. You know, common sense. Okay, so for live taping, once you've set your computer on a desk kind of facing you up at the front of the classroom, you're going to be using the computer's camera itself, which is located at the top in case you didn't know. And that's what's going to be doing the filming. Also, again, we're going to be using QuickTime. So make sure we have got that started and ready to go. And then it's just like we did for the screencasting, we're going to be doing a little bit different here. Right now, we're going to be doing File, New Movie Recording. Oh, and hey, there's your lovely face. So again, a couple things to notice. You're going to see that the microphone is reading, and obviously the camera is going to be reading. So once you're up at the board, ready to go, and again, probably the best time to do this is your last class of the day when you have your lecture all fine-tuned and the kinks worked out. So just press that record button and start doing your thing. La da 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 da. Great, great lesson. So once you're finished, of course, move your mouse again and you'll see a stop sign right there. Go ahead and click it. And your video is going to be ready to go. Now again, if you try to close it, it's going to give you a little dialog box saying, wait a second, don't you want to save this? Go ahead and give it another appropriate name. Make sure you know where you saved it. And it's going to export the video. Then voila, you're ready to rock and roll and do whatever you need to do, whether putting it on YouTube, downloading it to a thumb drive. Oh, there it is. There's that little example which we just made.
And start doing your thing. La da 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 da. Great, great lesson.
So, yeah, it's that easy, and it's pretty nifty. You can do this with just the tools that you have already.
So boom, there you have it. 2 easy ways to get yourself off and swimming in the wonderful world of the flipped classroom model. Are there slicker, more advanced ways to do this? Of course there are. But you got to be able to float before you can do the backstroke. In later videos I can show you some other tools to use to make some really cool videos, which I've learned during my sabbatical. Also, this last thing I must mention. There has been exponential growth this last year and a couple years before on the amount of material that is already out there for you free to use for your own classroom. Teachers have been plugging away with this model. This model has been hugely popular. So it just takes a simple amount of searching and you can probably find something that you can use already for your classroom without having to step in front of a video camera. So just take a quick look. You can start at my webpage, of course. Another thing I really recommend is getting on the Twitters. That's a huge community of really tech-savvy teachers who love flipping. So ask me in the hallways, check out my webpage, and I'll point you in some good directions for you to start finding your own resources. All right, guys, go get them.